What's up guys, this is Automotive Anonymous and I have another pretty cool comparison for you today. Typically, if you're new to my channel, I do car reviews, 0 to 60s, truck reviews, stuff like that, of the Singularity variety. But I have done a comparison before of the Wildernesses, the Forester, and the Outback. Today we have another comparison, the Limiteds. Limited Crosstrek, which is the fourth of the 5 trim levels, and Limited XT Outback. So we want to find out which of these wagons, or mini wagon in the Crosstrek's case, is worth your time and money. The Crosstrek is about 30 grand. The Outback XT Limited with that turbo is about 40 grand. So is a $10,000 price difference worth it? We're gonna find out. And big thanks to Twin Falls Subaru for letting me borrow these vehicles. Let's get started. Why does my opinion matter? Well, it may or may not, but my past experience is I owned a Crosstrek Premium for 2 years, and I've owned an Outback Wilderness for 1.5 years. So I've put about 65,000 miles on Subarus. Additionally, I've reviewed 3 of the 5 trim levels of the Crosstrek for 2023, and all 8 trim levels of the Outback for 2023. So I have a lot of bum time in the seat of these pretty cool Subarus. We have a variety of specs to go through, but we're gonna cover things such as the audio system, the LED headlights, safety features, how many cup holders do these have, and the backup camera, because some of those features might matter. You might be buying this solely off of how many cup holders does it have for you and your family. However, we have to start with some of the basic specs and features on this walk around to initiate this video, such as the Crosstrek is in its 2nd generation. It started in 2018, and this is the last year as the 2024 models are starting to show up in detail on the internet. However, the Outback started in 2020 for this 6th generation. It had this refresh. For this year, 2023, we have non-functional plastic cladding on it. Otherwise, most other things are similar between the 23s and the previous model years of the same 2nd gen Crosstrek, 6th gen. For 2022, Subaru actually sold 155,000 Crosstreks in the United States, while the Outback sold 147,000. So for 2022, the Crosstrek has finally surpassed the Outback in terms of sales. This $40,000 Limited XT is the 7th of the 8th trim level, so it's very loaded, while the Limited Crosstrek is the 4th of the 5th. The only thing higher is the hybrid, which not many people buy. There are 2 engine offerings for either of these platforms. The Crosstrek in this Limited or the Sport has the bigger 2.5 Boxer that makes 182 horse. If you opt for the Premium or lower, it has 152 horse out of a 2-liter. Meanwhile, a non-XT Outback has the same 2.5 liter with the same numbers, 182 horse, or the turbo like this, 2.4 liter, that makes 260 horse, 277 torque. The difference is that 277 torque starts at 2,000 RPM. So that's much lower in the RPM band than the naturally aspirated one. Additionally, 277 torque at 2,000 RPM is likely 2 to 3 times the torque output of this. So you really don't have to rev these turbo Outbacks very high to get going. Additionally, Crosstreks in my area with the 2-liter 0 to 60 ranges from about 10 to 12 seconds, depending on the weather for how good a quality the air is. And the 2.5 Boxer like this, they typically take about 9 seconds, maybe a little bit more. Similar to the Outback, it takes about 9 seconds with the base engine, or with the turbo. Every single one I've tested, I believe, has been in the 6-point-something range. So the turbo makes a big difference. Now, the 2.5 Boxers may be created equal, but the gas tanks are not, both located on the passenger side of the vehicle. The Crosstrek's is 16.6 gallons. The Outback is 18.5. They can both get low 30s on the highway if you're going with the naturally aspirated engine. The Crosstrek, more specifically, is rated at 28, 33 to 34. The Outback is rated about 26 to 32. So with a 16.6 gallon tank, the Crosstrek's good for 550 highway miles. The Outback is good for about 593, nearly 600. But if you go turbo like this one, you're gonna get closer to 536. Keep that in mind. And that's if you're conservative. If you're playing with that turbo boost, you might be doing a little bit worse. Both of these vehicles are on the global Subaru platform, so 8.7 inches, but you can certainly lift either. If you get a Wilderness, it's up to 9.5 inches of ground clearance. They both have the 370 final drive ratio, which is a pretty good number. It's balanced between getting decent MPG and putting the torque down so you can feel it. Neither vehicle has a tow package installed, but if it did, The Crosstrek with the 2.5 can tow up to 1,500 pounds. The Outback with the 2.5 can tow 2,700, but with the turbo like this, it's good for up to 3,500. So you could tow a small boat, a small camper, or basically a Crosstrek behind you, because the Crosstrek weighs about 3,100 to 3,300 pounds. Meanwhile, the Outback weighs 3,600 to 3,900 pounds, depending on its spec. The Outback is about 16 feet long, 5.5 feet tall, and 6 feet wide. Meanwhile, the Crosstrek is actually just under 15 feet long, just under 6 feet wide, and a mere measly 5.3 feet tall. So you lose a couple inches in height, but it's a lot easier to park. Don't mind my parking job. At full steering wheel turn, the Outback takes about an extra foot to do a full circle. It takes about 36 feet, while the Crosstrek takes about 35. These are both limited, so they both have the 18-inch wheels rather than the 17s. The Outback has a 225 60 18. The Crosstrek has a 225 55 18. So basically, the Outback always has a size larger for sidewall height compared to the Crosstrek. However, they have the same overall ground clearance as previously mentioned. I'm assuming the extra sidewall just goes to the different design of the Outback and maybe making up for some of its weight for sitting lower, since their suspension is nearly identical. Don't worry guys, we're almost to the inside to get out of this wind. But a few safety features. They both have really bright LED headlights. If you can get the Crosstrek that has those LEDs, I highly recommend you spring for them. It was such a big upgrade over my halogens on the Crosstrek when I had them before my Outback Wilderness. And by having those, it makes it a top safety pick plus. But they have a lot more than that for active and passive safety features. They both have all the adaptive cruise control settings, dual camera eyesight. The Outback also has heads-up display, blind spot monitoring on the inside, turn signals on the exterior. Same with this one, it just doesn't have the heads-up display, but they have basically the same features. I will say, after owning a Crosstrek and now an Outback, the safety features on the Outback do feel a little bit more mature of a system, although the Crosstrek is great, especially at the price point. LEDs all around, they look really good. Mini wagon versus full wagon, what's the difference? The rear cargo capacity with the seats up is a whopping 21 feet, but when you drop the seats, you get about 55 feet, which is actually pretty decent. If you're small, you could still car camp back here, or you could fit a lot of stuff. Meanwhile, the full wagon gets a whopping 32 cubic feet back here, and if you drop the seats, you're up to the mid 75s, so you really have a lot to go with. Again, back to the Crosstrek, it's quite a bit smaller. Meanwhile, I can't reach the back seats in the Outback without getting my shorts dirty on that bumper. The Crosstrek gets a temporary spare tire with all the tools right there, easy to reach. And the Outback has more of a two-stage setup with tools up top. You have room for your sunshade right there, and then the spare tire down there with a little bit extra storage to hide some goodies. Keep in mind, the Outback with the Harman Kardon speakers does have the subwoofer back here. It sounds fantastic, decently better than the Crosstrek, which does not have a speaker back here. But if you have the base speakers on each, they sound about the same. Both of these vehicles are insulated fairly well. The Outback is a little bit better, so I'd say the speakers don't have to be as loud on the Outback, alluding to a slightly less distorted sound quality. And to close the hatch, the Crosstrek only has a grab handle, which I do like, just being manual, but the Outback has lock or automatic lower. Door panel of the Crosstrek looks fantastic. It's exactly what you need for a vehicle of this class. Those leather seats are really comfortable. They're heated. I don't think Subaru makes the best heated seats, but for most people, they seem to really enjoy them. I just like my back to be burning, so I might be the exception. Otherwise, it's fairly loaded. I like the auto start stop feature is right there. Fuse box down here, hood release, rubberized pedals, and everything to go with. Meanwhile, the Outback, based off of the Legacy sedan, has a slightly larger door pocket, a little bit more upscale features and trim, but very nice and very competitive for the price point. Really good extended bolstered leather seats. I really like how they look. Sunroof up top on this one. You have your options right here, and it looks really good. Back into the Crosstrek, it's a push button start, so through the My Subaru app you can pay for the remote start feature, which is really cool. The wheel is leather wrapped, feels really good, very simple, straightforward design, and I prefer this infotainment system over the Outback, because you still have a CD player that's probably or potentially going away next year, especially if you have the 11.6-inch screen. Then it's gone on this level of vehicle. Physical knobs, buttons, you have a 12 volt and all of your plug-ins down there. It's just easy, straightforward, simple. Everything is right where you want it to be. Meanwhile, in the Outback, basically the same idea, push button start. You do have the heated wheel feature, which is really cool. And you have the fancy looking 11.6-inch screen, which looks nice, but the more I drive it, the more I have one of these, I honestly don't like it that much. The infotainment screen is not as responsive as the physical buttons. Sometimes it does lag and delay, but it looks good, so I'll give it that. Otherwise, you have the wireless charger here. I don't actually use that on my own Outback because the USB plug-in is a lot faster. Electronic parking brake, and a 2-stage console with a 12 volt. Both vehicles are tied for cup holders. They have a bottle holder in each door, 2 cup holders in the center, and 2 in the back, so 4 and 4 in both this Crosstrek and the Outback. This is the backup camera of the Crosstrek. Trajectory lines do move, and I think with this screen, the Crosstrek wins for the backup camera. The Outback, again, same 4 bottle holders, 1 in each door, 2 in the back, 2 in the front, but they are a bit larger in the front. The backup camera, though, I feel like, and how it has to fit this vertical screen is not as good. I don't like it as much as the Crosstrek. Back seat comfort in either is fantastic. The Crosstrek really makes good use for its passengers, despite it's over a foot shorter than the Outback. What you don't get are the seats that recline like the Outback, but they are easy to lift, easy to lower. 2 small cup holders, no ventilation back here, but you get a map pocket for backseat driver. The seats look fantastic. The orange stitching is quite beautiful back here. On the Outback, a little bit higher end, we have a double map pocket, slightly better armrest, and plug-ins, heated seats, ventilation. The seats easily drop 60/40 split, but you can also recline with that handle and gain probably about 10 more degrees of comfort for your taller passengers. Additionally, the Outback sits tall people totally fine. I think you could easily be 6.5 feet back here and have no problem. Back to the Crosstrek, just for a quick comparison again. Much smaller, but it's cozy. If you guys have made it this far, I so much appreciate your time and willingness to watch. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Which one did you buy? Which one have you bought? And have you gone from one to the other like I have? Or are you just considering which Subaru might be your next one? These are both really good vehicles. The Outback's 10 grand more expensive, so at an extra third of the price premium over the Crosstrek is the turbo, is the bigger capacity, the higher towing volume and size. Things like that worth it. They are both a top safety pick plus, but having a little bit more weight on your side like the Outback is always a positive. Additionally, it's obviously going to have higher resale than the Crosstrek, but the Crosstrek is finally by about 8,000 outselling the Outback in America. The Outback for a long time has been the family station wagon that a lot of people can afford and a lot of people can enjoy, but there's trade-offs with that. So which one are you guys going to buy? Also, if you guys enjoyed this impromptu style of review, please let me know and I'll consider doing more of these comparisons in the future compared to my more structured walk-around reviews. I want to know your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing to bookmark my channel if you're interested. Otherwise, guys, have a fantastic rest of your day. See you on the next one.